Hi everybody, this is Lady Sweetheart and I am so excited to bring you the brand new play-tested Sims 4 gameplay challenge that I have created. And as you can see on here, the challenge is called the Wife Swap Challenge. And it's one of those challenges that is not long, it's not like a legacy challenge, doesn't require a lot of commitment. It's just basically designed to be something that's fun and maybe change up your style of gameplay a little bit. And as someone who has played through it now, I can tell you it can be pretty chaotic as well. So I'm going to go over the rules with you. Like I said, I did make sure to play test these. In fact, some of the rules I originally came up with did get changed because after I play tested them, I realized it didn't work so well. So as you can see, it says this really is more accurately a spouse swap challenge because it can be done with any gender of sim. So if you wanted to switch husbands, that's okay too. I just called it the Wife Swap Challenge because that was the name of the show. To keep things simple, throughout the rules, wife is used, but the term would apply to whatever spouse you are swapping in. So the overview of the challenge is you must pick two in-world families containing at least two Sims who are married to each other. They can be pre-made Sims, they can be Sims you've created and put into the world, it doesn't matter. As long as the households have two Sims that are married to each other, you can use them. And they can also have kids, they can have other household members. The only requirement is they have to have at least a married couple. This takes place over 4 sim days. You will spend 2 days in each household after the swap. You may do this as 2 consecutive days in each household, or you can switch back and forth and do both of your day 1s in each household and then turn around and go back and do your day 2s in each household. As the show is structured, the first day will be centered around the wants and needs of those who are already living in the house, or the original members of the household. The second day will be centered around keeping the wife happy, or spouse, whatever you decide. You will then repeat this for the other household involved in the swap. After you choose the wives or spouses who will be swapping with one another, each one of them must quit their job if they have one. This must be done no later than 1 day before the swap period begins. So the reason for that is because of the way the Sims 4 goes. If someone changes their job, it doesn't take effect that day. It doesn't take effect till the next day. So you're going to want to go in before the actual swap starts and check what each of the Sims you're swapping, check what their jobs are, and then make sure you can do that for the other Sim and have them sign up for that job. And it says an optional thing is you may even cheat them to the exact position in that career, like if they're at level 3, level 4, using cheats or MCCC if you so choose. This part is not required so long as they will be working in the same general career. So like if someone is in the medical career, you can cheat it to what exact level that Sim is, but some people don't play with cheats, some people don't have access to cheats, and if that's the case, you don't have to. As long as you sign them up for the medical career, that counts. If the Sim they are swapping with has no job, they will not work at an assigned job either. You may use your imagination or what is known about the Sim to guess what they like to do in a typical day instead. You can use things like their traits, their hobbies, their likes or dislikes, even things you may have observed about that Sim in other saves. Whatever you decide could be. This part is kind of open to imagination. You must play with autonomy on, and you will see why here shortly. And it is recommended you use a brand new save designated just for this challenge. As I said before, it can be a little bit chaotic. So unless you want to kind of ruin some lives in your save, it's probably a good idea just to open a new one up for this. Okay, so let's take a look. I mentioned that there's 2 days for the swap for each household, and I titled them day 1s and day 2s. I just think that's the easiest way to think of it. So day 1 will be done for both households. On the first day of the swap, you may only control the Sim or Sims who are already living in the house. If more than one Sim was already living there, you may alternate control between these Sims. I already see a typo here. Between these Sims as you please. So if you've seen my community board, you did probably see I said that the Goths were going to be involved in this. They are one of the families that I chose. So what that's saying is once I swap the new quote-unquote wife into the Goth household, I can still control the people who are already living there in the goth house. So I could control like Mortimer, Cassandra, Alexander, but I cannot control the wife that I swapped in. You may only have these Sims initiate socials with the wife who was swapped in. So whatever Sims are already living there, you can't tell them to go talk to someone else who was already part of the house. You can only have them go and talk to the wife who was swapped in. Now, they might autonomously talk to each other, that's okay, but you just can't initiate it. Socials can only be chosen from the initial wheel that appears when clicking on the other Sim, unless it is to do with one of their whims. Otherwise, you have to choose a social that appears right away. So like when you have your Sim click on another Sim, there's always a couple of options of ways they can socialize with that Sim. You can only pick one of those. You can't go to the different categories like friendly, romance, mean. You can't do any of that. You can only use the ones that first appear unless you're trying to fulfill a whim. You must also fulfill at least one whim of the Sim or Sims you are controlling that day. If multiple Sims, you can choose whichever Sim's whim you want. So like I said, sometimes there might be more than one Sim in that household. You only have to choose one of their whims to fulfill. And it says to spice it up, try to fulfill a whim that involves the wife who was swapped in. So when I originally wrote these rules, I made it a requirement that a whim had to be about the wife swapping in. But when I went to play test it, I found it was very rare for a whim to come up involving them. And so I thought, well, I obviously can't make that a rule, but I think it definitely adds more if you're involving that Sim that you swapped in. On this day, you must keep the Sims who were part of the original household, those you are controlling, happy. If their needs fall into the red, you must do something to address them. So it's pretty straightforward. So then we're going to go to day 2. And as I said before, you can do this right after day 1 in the same house if you want. Or what I did in the video that you're going to see tomorrow is I switched back and forth. So on day 2, which will again have to be done for both households, on the second day, you may only play or control as the wife Sim that you swapped in. So it switches, and instead of controlling the Sims that already lived there, you're going to be controlling the Sim that you moved in. Again, socials may only be selected from the initial wheel that appears unless you are fulfilling one of the wife's whims. You must fulfill at least one of the wife's whims on that day, and again, I would say if you can involve someone else in the household, that's just going to spice things up a little bit. On this day, you must keep the wife's Sim happy. If their needs fall into the red, you must do something to address them immediately. So it's basically the same rules, but we're just switching it around. And finally, some other rules that you want to adhere to as you go through the challenge. Sims are not allowed to call anyone on the phone or leave the house unless going somewhere as an entire household. The one exception is Sims may go to work or school. So like they can still go to their jobs or to school, whatever it is that they have already had commitments to. But otherwise, you can't just like have a Sim say, hey, I'm going to go visit this person. The reason I have this rule is because the idea of the swap is you want to involve that Sim that you swap in, and you want to make sure your Sims are socializing with them. So like if they're going somewhere without them or they're calling other people on the phone, that's kind of negating the purpose of the challenge. No needs sheets. After the swap, it is up to you to decide what each family or couple will change: romance, career, household routines, etc. And there's no hard and fast rules about that. That's really up to you and maybe what you observed during the swap. And as the next one says, above all, this is about you having fun, and you can let your imagination be your guide with this. Aside from these rules, it's really up to you how you want things to go. You may decide to narrate it like it's a show, or choose only the most controversial things that come up. Above all, it's meant to be something you have fun with. And like I said, I think it's also just to kind of get you out of your comfort zone. I know it introduced me to a little bit more spontaneous type of gameplay. And as I said, I am going to be uploading the gameplay of this tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. Also, if you're excited, don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it. It really does help my channel out. Also, don't forget to drop a comment below. I really do always love what you have to say, and I'd love to hear what you think about this challenge. Thank you all for being the best. I'll see you later. Bye.